want to welcome all of my friends from around the world. This is Wellness Talk, and I am George Batista, your host and your steadfast wellness advocate. Wellness Talk is a show that goes over the latest in health and healing and nutrition and supplements. We help you with those day-to-day healthy decisions. We give you tips and tools and tricks here that you can use to hopefully make some healthy choices and live a healthy life. I'm glad you guys could be with me this week. Make sure you go to georgebatista.com as always, because the articles are there that you can check out, read for yourselves. And also you can watch this show and or listen to this show on there. Obviously, we're on all platforms. So wherever you're watching or wherever you're listening, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you like the material that we go over, because it only supports us, helps us to grow. And this show is brought to you by Wellness Resources, a 35-year-old supplement company that is on the forefront of clinical nutrition. They've been doing it since 1985. They're some of the best supplements on the planet, the only supplements that I use. So make sure you check them out because we reference their supplements on this show all the time. Make sure you go to myvitaminresource.com. And if you enter the promo code Counterparts, you will get free shipping on all orders. So make sure you check them out. All right. So this week's topics, we're going to talk about cognitive health today. And this is very important because I've known many people in my life, in my circles, who have, gotten older and dealt with all different types of cognitive problems, whether it's dementia, whether it's Alzheimer's disease and those types of things. But it's a serious problem all around the world. And it's just getting worse and worse, right? We're hearing about it, constantly. So I want to talk a little bit about cognitive health today, and not only what are the problems, but we're also obviously going to talk about the solutions, because on this program, I like to kind of give a fair balance of each, if possible, talk about what the issues are, and then what we can do to not only maybe help prevent something or deal with something if you have it. So that's what we do on this show as much as possible. So we're going to talk about, from Wellness Resources, common meds may increase dementia risk by 50%. So we're going to talk about a lot of medications. Then they've done studies on medications and their effect on dementia risk and cognitive health. So we're going to go over some of those medications and what their effects are. So you kind of get you can be aware of that. Then we're going to talk about higher antioxidant levels linked to lower dementia risk. And this is new science on antioxidants and dementia risk. This is by Dr. Jillian Levy. We talk about antioxidants on this show all the time and how antioxidants are so important for lowering inflammation, systemic inflammation all around the body, lowering free radicals. So we're going to talk about it today when it comes to cognitive health. Then we're going to talk about sleep and how sleep can reduce your risk of dementia and death. Sleep is extremely important. And I've talked about the best ways to get sleep on this show. Make sure you reference some of those past podcasts I've done on sleep. And I'm probably going to do some more stuff on that. So make sure you stay tuned for that, because sleep is just so important in this whole business. We talk about health, right? And then we're going to talk about, again, from Wellness Resources, the amazing brain nutrient that helps memory, learning, focus, and mood. And that nutrient is phosphatidylserine. So we're going to talk about that nutrient, and that's actually going to bring us to our spotlight nutrient as well, because we're going to talk about the Wellness Resources phosphatidylserine. But we're going to talk about what it is and what are the benefits in your body, and not only body, but brain health, learning, mood, and all that type of stuff. We're going to talk about where you can get it and why you should be taking it, especially if you want to make sure you are, keeping your brain in tip-top shape. So it's very, very important. It's a very important nutrient. And so we'll talk about it. All right. So that's what's on tap for this week. Let's get started. Okay. So first article, this is common meds may increase dementia risk by 50%. So those of you who watch this or listen to this show know that I like to talk a little bit about numbers first, just so you kind of get just a reference point of what are some of the issues here. So this is statistics from the NIH, and I don't think it's been updated, but so we'll just talk about the last statistics they've had. So according to their calculations, 13.9% of Americans age 71 and older have some type of dementia. 9.7% of Americans in that age group have Alzheimer's disease, and 2.4% have vascular dementia. Now, Alzheimer's disease accounted for about 70% of all dementia cases among people 71 and older. So just so you kind of get a sense of what the numbers are, and I'm sure those numbers are probably updated because I think that was back in 2007 when they talked about that. So they're probably more updated numbers, but even those numbers are kind of frightening because again, it's getting worse as we get older, right? Or as time goes along. So now they've done studies, and this was a study published from June 2019 in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And they talked about anticholinergic drugs. Now, anticholinergic drugs are a group of medications such as antidepressants, they're bladder control drugs, anti-seizure meds, antipsychotics, allergy medications, all different types of drugs like that. And they've talked about that now there is scientific evidence to show that these drugs have an effect on your dementia risk. And not only those drugs, there's other drugs as well, but they focus more specifically on these drugs and how they could actually increase your risk of dementia. Now, why is that? Because these types of medications block the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. And that neurotransmitter plays a central role in your peripheral nervous system, okay? So if you block something that plays such a pivotal role in that nervous system, you're bound to create problems, right? Obviously, there's going to be dysfunction in your nervous system, and there's going to be a backlog of unmet needs. So that's one of the reasons why this is such a problem. So the goal of the study from the American Medical Association was to further explore these certain types of drugs and see what their increase in dementia is, see what the exact mechanisms of this, right? So this was a large population study. And this was a control study. It was completed in England, involved 284,343 of middle-aged to senior participants who used anticholinergic medication for an extended period of time, and controls who did not use any meds at all, right? And the participants prescribed, the prescription information was evaluated for up to 20 years, okay? Now, this is what they showed. The results showed that nearly 50% increase in odds of dementia before the age of 80 when strong anticholinergic type drugs were used for 1,095 or more days during a 10-year period. Now, this amount of time is equivalent to using one minimum dose every day for up to 3 years. Okay, so think about that, for example, one minimum dose every day for up to 3 years. Okay, that's what they studied. And now what they did say was that even though they found an association, they did not find a causation, because in their eyes, obviously, association does not necessarily equal causation, but it is something to be concerned about if you really think about it. Okay, so the drugs with the greatest association were antidepressants, they were antipsychotics, bladder control, right, or overactive bladder control medications, anti-Parkinson's and anti-seizure and anti-epileptic medications. So this is, very significant in this study. Okay, so now here's the issue, because it's not only those drugs, because when you look at other studies as well, there's studies on all different types of drugs, but another drug that they're actually finding, and this was separate again from this article, look at statins. Okay, statins. What are statins? Statins are a class of cholesterol lowering drugs. And what do? They suppress the synthesis of cholesterol in your liver, right? They also deplete your coenzyme Q10, because that's what's made in your liver as well, right? And also neurotransmitter precursors. Okay, so they suppress these things. Now, obviously, this is an issue because your brain, okay, 50% of your brain is actually fat and cholesterol. Okay, you need cholesterol for your brain. You need we're all fatheads if you really think about it, right? Because fat plays a very important role in your brain. Okay, so there's essential fatty acids in there, fat soluble antioxidants. Okay, and if those get inhibited along with cholesterol, this is where you can start to get problems, right? Because your brain needs those compounds in there to make sure things are working properly. So what they have found, and this was out of the journal Pharmacotherapy, when it comes to statins, they found that statin associated adverse cognitive effects have been reported, with 90% resolving after drug discontinuation. So this was specifically towards statins. Okay. So they found that 90% of these issues resolved when people discontinued statins. Now, obviously, there's, statins was part of, I think it still is. Statin medication was the leading medication when it comes to medications prescribed. And it might still be till this day. I'm not exactly sure if that's the case, but I know for a long time it was. So cholesterol lowering medications is a huge business for, the pharmaceuticals, obviously. But it has effects. It has effects, not only muscular effects, it also has cognitive effects we're seeing here. Okay. Again, when you lower cholesterol, you're lowering a part of the body that actually plays a role. Okay. Has a purpose in your body. Okay. And so again, we're seeing the effects. Then also you have to look at what's called polypharmacy. Now, some of you may not know what polypharmacy is, but the definition of polypharmacy is basically a person who is on at least 5 or more prescription medications. Okay, that's what it's called. And we know that people, especially older folks, when you get into your 70s, 60s and 70s and 80s, the chances of you being on some kind of medications goes way up, right? Because now you're dealing with not only, whether it's cholesterol, whether it's blood pressure, whether it's blood sugar, whether it's cognitive decline, or whatever the case may be. So a lot of people I know who are in their 70s and 80s are on all different types of medications, right? 4 or 5 medications at least. So polypharmacy, what that is that someone being on all these medications. So there has been studies as well. There was a population-based control study in Taiwan that talked about polypharmacy, and they looked at people, especially older people, that were on all these types of medications. Okay. And the aim was to present the study to investigate whether polypharmacy correlates with a risk of dementia in older people. So that's what the study was for. Okay. This was, by the way, this is back in 2012. And this is what the study results concluded. The incidence of dementia increased with the number of medications used and age. There was a significant interaction between cerebrovascular disease and the number of medications used in the dementia risk. And this is what the conclusions were. The risk of dementia increases steadily with the number of medications used and age in older people in Taiwan. Cerebrovascular disease, diabetes mellitus, chronic kidney disease, and hypertension might also correlate with the risk of dementia. So it's not just because of the use of these drugs, but also because of all these other chronic conditions also play a role in dementia risk, right? So huge thing. Now, obviously, if you are on these types of medications, you're not going to just discontinue them, right? You're going to work with your doctor, okay, to make sure that, not only do you have to stay on them, maybe you could lessen if you're changing your lifestyle, obviously hoping you're changing your lifestyle if you could, but you're going to work with your doctor to see what you can do. Or maybe there's alternatives that your doctor can help you with that are less risky, that have less risk. Or obviously you talk to your doctor when it comes to that. But this is a big deal, okay? So medications, again, can, have adverse effects. Those types of pharmacological medications do have adverse effects. So these are things that you have to be aware of when you're, dealing with any of these types of medications and that type of things. Okay. So it's just something for you to think about overall when it comes to cognitive health. Next, we're going to talk about antioxidants and how antioxidant levels are linked to lower dementia risk. And this is by, again, Dr. Jillian Levy. And again, I've talked about antioxidants on the show ad nauseum, and I will continue to do so because it's one of the most important things you can put in your body, right? So this was findings from May 2022. So this was brand new research, and this was published in the journal Neurology. And it showed that the higher antioxidant levels are linked to lower dementia risk. Okay, so this was that data from the study that indicates when adults consume more antioxidant from a healthy diet, especially one high in plant foods, they are less likely to develop dementia as they age. Specific antioxidants that were found to be protective were things like lutein, zeaxanthin, okay, and beta-cryptosanthin. Okay, so we're going to go over a little bit what those are. But these are the nutrients basically you find in the leafy greens, right? So you find them in spinach, you find them in collard greens, you find them in other types of veggies like broccoli and peas and kale and those types of things. You find them in oranges, papayas, berries, all those types of things have high antioxidant status. And you can also look at what's called ORAC, okay, which is the oxygen radical absorption capacity of the antioxidants. Basically how your body uses it and how much of the antioxidant is absolutely absorbed by the body and how much your body actually uses, okay? So the higher the ORAC score of the antioxidant, the more your body's going to use it, the better it is. Now, this study included over 7,200 adults who were 45 age or older when the study began. Now, all participants were tested for levels of vitamin A, C, and E, and carotenoids, okay, which are antioxidants in the blood. All these antioxidants in the blood at the beginning of the study, and they were then followed for an average of 16 years. You gotta. What I like about these studies, just as an aside, is that these were not studies just like the last study that we did. They were not just studies that were done for a short time. Last study was 20 years. This study is 16 years. So really, not only is a good amount of people that were used in these studies, but it was a good amount of time that that these studies were conducted over a long period of time. And that's why I like studies like this, because you really get a good sense of exactly what works and what doesn't work. Now, over the 16 years, researchers tracked who developed dementia and who did not, and they compared the differences between two groups of diets, okay? And here's what they found. Adults who had the highest levels of lutein and zeaxanthin in their blood at the beginning of the studies were less likely to develop dementia than those with the lower levels. They found that the more lutein and zeaxanthin in someone's blood, the better protected that person was from dementia years later. Lutein and zeaxanthin are two types of carotenoids, right? And they're found in the pigment. They're basically red and yellow pigments. You find them in vegetables and other plants, okay? And lutein, we know, is good for the eyes, right? As well as, but it's these are very high in antioxidant status, and these are found in the yellow pigment and also in the red pigment of these high fruits and vegetables that contain that. Okay, very, very high levels. Now, also higher blood levels of beta-cryptosanthin were found to be protective against dementia as well. Now, beta-cryptosanthin is a natural carotenoid pigment, okay? And it's found in oranges and papaya, egg yolks, butter, apples, all different types of, again, bovine blood and all these types of things, okay? So, again, great, fantastic antioxidants. Now, so what they found was with these free radicals that are created through oxidation, okay, you have what's called reactive oxygen species. We've talked about that in the previous podcast, and they're basically they're reactive oxygen species are free radicals that are created when you have a bad diet, when you are living life, right, when you are dealing with a tremendous amount of oxidation, okay. So these antioxidants, again, what do? They squash the inflammation, thereby dealing with the free radicals. Now, you have to remember something about inflammation in general. Inflammation is created because your body is trying to heal something. Okay, so I want you to understand that inflammation is part of the natural healing process of the body. Okay, so not to say that inflammation, you should just let inflammation go wild, because obviously you don't want to do that. But what you want to do is you want to help the body in dealing with the inflammation, okay, that's created. Okay, this way you can heal faster. And when you're taking in all these antioxidants, fruits and vegetables and supplements and all these things, you're helping the body do what it has been designed to do, and that's deal with free radicals and eventually deal and bring down the fire, right? Exactly. And deal with inflammation. Okay. Deal with inflammation. But again, it's created, inflammation is created by the body's adaptation to whatever, whether it's damaged tissue and those types of things. Okay. So that's why the inflammation is created. Okay. And then what you want to do is help it. Now, what uh, mainstream medicine does is they want to use synthetic compound to stop the inflammation, but not and stop the body's natural process of creating inflammation, but not helping it to heal it. Okay. And what that does is that creates more inflammation later on, because again, you have the effects of that drug creating inflammation somewhere else in the body, right? So that's what mainstream medicine does. So we try to approach it another way. So again, tips on dealing with inflammation in the brain, or just trying to prevent these cognitive issues. Okay, not only obviously do you have the antioxidants. Okay, we have also exercise. Exercise. What does exercise do? Exercise creates movement, which actually helps to blood flow to the brain, right? Helps blood flow to the brain. It actually helps with nerve synthesis, right? Helps to make sure that nerves are working properly. And it also helps with what's called proprioception. So your brain, you have to remember that your brain operates on what's called proprioception. And proprioception, what it is how your brain views your body in space and time, okay? Because remember, your brain doesn't have two eyes. Your brain has to sense proprioception, and that's done by a whole bunch of nerves. That's done by sensors. Your body has sensors all along the spine, all over your body. You have proprioceptive sensors that tell the brain where your body is in space. Okay, exercise helps with that. Okay, exercise helps to regenerate, not only regenerate mitochondria, but helps with proprioception. The more exercise you do, the more blood flows into your brain, the more your brain senses where your body is in space, and the more connections are made. Okay, pretty simple. Trying to make it as simple as possible. So exercise is very, very important in this whole thing. So you have antioxidants, you have nutrition in general, exercise, sleep. We're going to talk about sleep in a second. All these things, keeping yourself hydrated, all this stuff is, and obviously, staying away from the bad foods and staying away from all that other craziness, right? Trying to, just make your diet as good as possible is all going to play a role in this entire puzzle. Okay. So all this is part of keeping your cognitive health, or making your cognitive, keeping your cognitive health healthy, basically, for lack of a better term. Okay. So just keep those things in mind for overall health. Then next, we're going to talk about sleep. Sleep, and this is out of Harvard Medical School, and this is sleep well and reduce your risk of dementia. So again, this was more of the new studies on this, and there was 2 studies in this. And in the first study, it was 2,800 individuals aged 65 and older participating in the National Health and Aging Trends Study. And they studied the effects of sleep on people and who developed dementia or not. Okay. And the researchers found that individuals who slept fewer than 5 hours per night were twice as likely to develop dementia and twice as likely to die compared to those who slept 6 to 8 hours per night. Okay. And this study controlled for demographics, including age, marital status, race, education, health conditions, and body weight. So there was a good control in there. Okay. So again, those who slept less than 8 hours had more of a risk. Okay. Then there was a second study, and this was out of Europe. This was actually France, the United Kingdom, and the Netherlands and Finland participated in this. And they examined data from almost 8,000 participants from a different study that found that consistently sleeping 6 hours or less at age 50, 60, or 70 was associated with 30% increase in dementia risk compared to normal sleep duration of 7 hours. And then again, the study controlled for a lot of different factors, including behavioral, mental health factors, and all those types of things. Okay. Now, what's new here is that inadequate sleep in midlife raises one's risk of dementia. So they didn't know that. They they had different studies on sleep, but they haven't done studies on midlife till now. Okay. So obviously you have many reasons for people, who don't sleep well. And this is, it's interesting because this is one of the most common things that I've dealt with when I was working with people. People have such an issue with sleep. And I've done podcasts on sleep, and make sure you refer to those if you want to, if you want to see different ways, different techniques on what you can use for sleep. And I may do some more stuff on that as well, but there's different ways you can do it. But I mean, people just don't sleep these days, right? Especially the younger generation. Why? Because they're dealing with computers, they're dealing with, phones, they're dealing when they're constant. There's a constant barrage of information. There's a constant barrage of radiation coming from these things, which is affecting people's sleep. People leave the TV on and all night sleep, don't go to bed till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then wake up at 7 or 8 and they're exhausted, right? So it's a problem because sleep is your way of kind of detoxing, and people are not sleeping. So there's so many different ways of doing this, so many different compounds, whether it's melatonin, whether it's magnesium, whether it's valerian roots, whether it's, even exercise can help people sleep, whether it's meditation, whether it's listening to soft music. There's all different ways. There's all different things that you can use to help with your sleep, even chamomile tea, all different types of teas, taurine, theanine, all these things help with reducing stress, reducing anxiety, and helping people sleep. You just got to find what's right for you. But sleeping is so important because, again, this is how your body, cleans out, especially in the brain. Now, keep in mind that the brain, okay, especially when it comes to Alzheimer's, we all know about Alzheimer's and amyloid beta plaque, right? That's one of the things that's responsible for Alzheimer's disease. It's the plaques in the brain that are causing it. But now we don't, one of the issues is, why do those plaques get there in the first place, right? And here's the difference. People who sleep regularly, right, especially younger folks, right, people who sleep and get a good amount of sleep, okay, they're able to clear those plaques out. Why? Because you are, through the course of your day, you're actually building up plaques. We're all building up plaques, just like we build up free radicals. We build up plaques in the brain as well. Okay, that's a normal part of the brain and how it builds this up through the course of the day. But the difference is, when you sleep, you clean out those plaques. That's very important. You have to clean those plaques out. Okay. Now, people who have, who are dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's disease and those types of things, they have a problem cleaning out those plaques. Okay. Because you got to remember, brain cells and their connections actually shrink. And the shrinking allows more space between the brain cells so that beta amyloid and other substances can actually be washed out and flushed out during the day. This is the difference between people who are dealing with Alzheimer's disease, where they're not being able to flush out those things on a regular basis, right? And then things, the amyloid beta and those things are building up over time and making things worse and worse. So again, sleep is a huge part of that. So you want to make sure you're getting enough sleep so your body can clean out. So it's just very important. So just something to think about when you're looking at sleep and getting enough rest during the day. Naps are really good for this as well, but make sure you're getting enough sleep. Extremely, extremely important. All right. And then finally, from Wellness Resources, our amazing brain nutrient that helps memory, learning, focus, and mood. And we're going to be talking about phosphatidylserine. And what is phosphatidylserine? Maybe some of you may not have heard of it. We're going to talk about exactly what it is and why it's important. So your brain structure is made up of critical fats known as phospholipids. Okay. And again, we're talking about having a fatty brain, right? We're all fatheads. So that's what, phospholipids are: phosphatidylserine, phosphatidylcholine. Okay. And it accounts for about 15% of the phospholipids in your brain. Now, the highest amounts of phosphatidylserine are found inside the cell membranes of the brain, and also the olfactory bulb, which is the nerve tissue which is essential for smell. Also, the hippocampus is involved in this, okay, and the memory center of the brain. Okay, lesser amounts of phosphatidylserine are found in all the other parts of the brain. Now, what does phosphatidylserine help, and what does it do, and how does it help you? Okay, so we'll go through it really quick. Phosphatidylserine helps your brain age well. Okay, so nerve pathways break down and lose their integrity as you get older. Okay, cell membranes and receptor sites get beat up with, again, oxidative stress, right? Oxidation. Okay, so microglial cells, okay, get overworked and stressed as time moves along. And this decline in neurological structure affects your brain's function and may occur as early as your 20s. Think about that, as early as your 20s. But you definitely see it in people 50 years of age and older, okay? So, what phosphatidylserine does is it actually helps to lessen those effects and actually helps your brain age better as you're getting older. Okay. So, that's very important. Number two, it enhances your learning ability. Okay. So, they did some rodent studies and they found that older rats supplemented with phosphatidylserine performed better with a learning test than the control group. Okay. And performance levels were similar to younger adult rats. And there was a 2018 human study. Researchers proved that the use of phospholipids, like phosphatidylserine and phosphatidylcholine, healthfully enhanced cognitive function in older adults. Number three, it helps to support memory and focus. Early individuals given phosphatidylserine experienced positive benefits in memory and mood in a 3-month double-blind placebo-controlled study. Improvements and preservation of independence was seen with the ability to accomplish and maintain daily living tasks. And by the way, this was used at about 300 milligrams a day. Okay. Number four, it helps with spatial memory. Now, what is spatial memory? Spatial memory is basically kind of a directional memory in your brain, right? It's basically you have many cells in your brain that actually help with direction. It's basically involved with the direction that you're going, and there's many as many cells that actually help with whether you're going left, right, center, different things that you're doing, different directions that you're moving and helping. Okay, I'm going to move this direction. I'm going to move this direction. That's what's called spatial memory. Okay. So it's like kind of like navigation. Think about it as kind of like your internal GPS. So spatial memory, it also involves short and long-term memory along with focus and geometry and mathematics skills. So phosphatidylserine helped with that as well. Number five, it helps protect brain and repair. So phosphatidylserine supplementation helps to decrease the production of free radicals in brain, which help to lower oxidative stress and helps the cells to perform what's called autophagy. Autophagy is a normal part of the brain's housekeeping process. Okay, and it's vital, again, and a lot of this happens when you sleep as well, but it's part of the function of cleaning out the debris, cleaning out the trash. Okay, so that's what phosphatidylserine is very, very good at, helping to repair that. Number six, it helps to buffer stress. So elevated stress hormones throughout the day, right, must be managed. Okay, again, this is all the oxidation and all the stress you go throughout your day. So phosphatidylserine is often used to help protect and modulate high cortisol and high stress hormones. Okay, so it helps you obviously if you're feeling wired and you're irritable and those types of things. Phosphatidylserine helps to kind of clamp that down as well. Number seven, helps with brain metabolism and function. Now, inside cell membranes, phosphatidylserine combines with proteins to form a docking site. Okay, and think about it, it's kind of a parking spot for several key signaling pathways. So the signaling pathways are involved with nerve growth, communication of nerves, and nerve cell survival. So phosphatidylserine plays a significant role in keeping these signal pathways working well. Very, very important. Okay. And it's involved with communication as well. Keep in mind that things like calcium, okay, calcium is also involved in the communication and nerve communication as well. So phosphatidylserine will also help with that as well. Number eight, phosphatidylserine helps with mood. It naturally helps to modulate the neurotransmitter dopamine, serotonin, GABA, okay, glycine, and acetylcholine inside the cell membranes as it supports receptor sites for those neurotransmitters. Okay, so that's going to help with mood and stress, those types of things. It's going to help with relaxation, focus, and stress tension. Now, obviously, those of you who are in a stress situation, you know that it's a lot harder to think and relax when you are in those stressful situations. So things like magnesium and phosphatidylserine can help to relax that and actually help to increase focus, especially if you're dealing with stressful situations. Okay. Very, very good with that type of stuff. Number 9, it helps movement and coordination. Again, we talked about spatial memory, directional memory, that type of thing. And number 10, phosphatidylserine and DHA. They work together. Okay. So again, you have a good amount of DHA in your brain. Okay. So remember, DHA crosses the blood-brain barrier. That's part of the omega-3s that cross into your brain. So phosphatidylserine, they works with the omega-3s, and it's critical for brain structure and function and nerve cell membranes. Now, animal studies show that DHA if DHA is deficient in early life, then phosphatidylserine content is also lacking in the olfactory bulb, brain cortex, and the hippocampus of the brain. Okay, so you got to have both working together, because if one is down, that's going to affect the other, right? So you want those working together for optimal health. Now, this is going to bring us to our nutrient spotlight for the week. Wellness Resources has phosphatidylserine. Okay, and it's a very, very good non-GMO, soy-free, high purity phosphatidylserine derived from sunflower lecithin. Okay, so again, it's going to help with boosting short-term memory and mood, improve concentration, coordination, and focus, enhance learning and retention of information, nourish brain cells with this important phospholipid, and also, obviously, again, it's GMO free, and it's from sunflower lecithin. So you know you're getting a good product, and a good product that doesn't have any kind of, GMOs or anything in it. This is why Wellness Resources shines, in my opinion. Now, it's 100 milligrams per capsule for 120 capsules. So check it out. Phosphatidylserine, that's our nutrient spotlight for the week. Wellness Resources, go to myvitaminresource.com if you want to take a look at that. And by the way, they have other brain support nutrients as well, and I'm going to go over those at a future podcast. But I just wanted to highlight phosphatidylserine because this is what we've been talking about today, and I think you will get a lot out of it. Again, whether you're dealing with these types of issues or you just want to keep your brain in good shape as you get older, learning stuff is very, very important. And just one last thing I want to talk about before I kind of sign off here. As you're getting older, people are so focused on retirement, right? People, they want to retire from their job, and a lot of times their jobs, are keeping their brain working, right? But they're tired. They don't want to, they've done the job for 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it is, and they want to do their own thing, which is fine. Okay, I know a lot of people who are retired. My mom is retired. My dad retired. Everybody was retired. But don't make retirement the end of your learning. Okay, that's just my little tip for today, because I've seen so many people, they retire and then that's it. They're on the couch, they're watching TV, they stop functioning, their brain stop functioning, they stop learning, they stop doing things. Okay, make retirement the second phase of your life. Learn new things, because this is how you keep your brain active. This is how you keep the connections strong. Okay, there's so much science on this. Keep the connection. So learn a new instrument, exercise. Go, double or triple your exercise regimen, right? Go to the gym. There are a lot of people who've retired and are in the gym every other day, which is great. Learn new things. Go out in the community, hang out with, in the community, play games, do different things, but just don't stop learning, because you want to make sure that your brain is constantly working. And this is key, in my opinion. So that's just a little tip on my end as far as retirement goes. Just do some fun stuff and keep your brain working, learn some new things, combine that with antioxidant status, movement, sleep, Everything that we've talked about today, right? Making sure that you're getting enough nutrition and that's crossing the blood-brain barrier, making sure you're getting all that nutrition you need, and make sure you're eating well. Combine all that, and you have a better shot at keeping your brain healthy as you age. So that's just my 2 cents on it. I want to thank you guys for joining me this week. Hope you got a lot out of it. We'll see you again next week. Take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, take control of your health.